What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be going over all of the specialists that we currently know about in Black Ops 4. I'm going to go over each of their special abilities as well as their special equipment, which is something new this year with Black Ops 4. And I'm also going to share a little bit of insight based on my playtime with several of these specialists. Unfortunately, I didn't get enough playtime to use every single one of them, but I did manage to use more than half of them. As always, big thank you to Activision for flying me out so I could record some early gameplay for this and get some hands-on time with Black Ops 4. And of course, just as a disclaimer in case you're watching this down the road, this is from the pre-alpha build of the game. Some things will likely change, and I also expect that more specialists will be added in the future. So at the point of recording, this is a full comprehensive list of specialists, but there might be more down the road, and when there are, I'll be sure to cover them on the channel. Let's first hop into exactly how this system works and integrates with your Create a Class system. So in its current state in Black Ops 4, when you first get into a game after the map loads, before you select your class, you select your specialist character. Unlike Black Ops 3, only one of each specialist character can be used per team. And this is a first come first serve system, so you kind of have to race your teammates to choosing the specialist that you want to choose, or just coordinate with them beforehand if you're playing in a party. But only one of each of these characters can be used per team. And also something else that's different from Black Ops 3 specialist system is each one of these specialist characters has a special piece of equipment that only they can use. Only that particular character can use it. And when you're creating your classes, you can either choose to use the special equipment, which will then apply to whichever specialist character you choose, or you can choose a standard piece of equipment like a grenade, or a stun grenade, or a combat axe, something along those lines. Lethals and tacticals all are combined into this equipment category. I should also mention that every piece of equipment in this game, so grenades as well as these special pieces of equipment, are on a cooldown timer. So you don't just spawn with them every time you respawn like we have in the past with Call of Duty. It's always on that cooldown, so you'll just be earning a new one every set amount of seconds, and I believe the cooldown timers are different depending on the piece of equipment that you're using. So you do have the potential to use these more than once in a life if you are staying alive for a longer period of time. So first up, let's kick it off with Battery. Now, Battery is a returning specialist character from Black Ops 3. She is the demo expert, and she gets a War Machine for her special ability. This is the ability that charges up over time in-game and will charge faster as you earn score, which is exactly the same as how it worked in Black Ops 3. And based on my experience with the War Machine, which is a high explosive grenade launcher, it seems to be pretty much identical to the War Machine from Black Ops 3. As for her special piece of equipment, this is the Cluster Grenade, which is essentially just a Stemtex grenade or a sticky grenade. It works exactly the same at first, but after it explodes, several other explosives come out of that and then they explode afterwards. So it's basically just a souped up Semtex grenade, and we did see it in the original multiplayer trailer. Next up we have Ajax, and Ajax is brand new with Black Ops 4. He is classified as a Breacher, and his specialist ability is the Ballistic Shield. This is a durable transforming defensive shield with a built-in machine pistol, and we did see this in the trailer as well. I think we actually saw all of the specialist abilities used in the trailer. I didn't actually get a chance to try this one out, so I don't have any first-hand experience with this one unfortunately, but it is pretty straightforward with how that works. As for his special piece of equipment, this is the 9-bang. Once again, I didn't have a chance to use this, but I did have this used against me, and it's very powerful. This stuns you as well as flashes you very, very hard in-game. If I'm not mistaken, you also can't aim down sight when you get stunned and flashed with this, so it's an extremely powerful piece of equipment if used properly. I should also mention the longer you cook it, the more powerful it's going to be. Getting into our next specialist character, this is Torque, and he is a defender. His specialist ability is the Barricade. This is that big shield that you can place down on the ground and it kind of builds itself, and you as well as your teammates can use this for cover. And in addition to that, it's kind of got a Guardian from Black Ops 2 built into it. So if you guys remember that, it shoots microwaves out the front of it, and that can actually stun, slow down, and damage enemy players if they get in that microwave area. I also noticed, at least in the build that we were playing, when your teammates were using this piece of cover and shooting from behind it, you would actually get score towards your streak as Torque. As for playing against the Barricade, you might be wondering, like, how do you get rid of it? It seems like it just has a set amount of health. So if you just keep shooting that Barricade as an enemy player against this, you will eventually be able to just destroy it. But it does seem to have a fair amount of health. As for Torque's equipment, this is the Razor Wire, and with this you can place this anywhere you want on the ground, although it's going to be most effective in doorways and in choke points. And with this one, if enemies run into that Razor Wire, it will slow them down, and it will also deal a small amount of damage to them over time. When you're using this, you'll also get hit markers when it's damaging enemies, so that will let you know when an enemy is stuck in your razor wire, and then you can go over and just kill that enemy as he's stuck there and can't really move too well. It's really easy to see this razor wire as an enemy player, so you can pretty easily avoid it, and also you can destroy it just by shooting at it, and I believe you can melee it as well, but I could be wrong on that point. Moving on to the next specialist, this is Firebreak, which is another returning specialist from Black Ops 3. He is all about area denial, and his specialist ability is the Purifier, which is returning from Black Ops 3, but it does behave a bit different than the Purifier in Black Ops 3. It seems like it has a longer range, but it deals a slightly less amount of damage over time. In Black Ops 3, if you just touched an enemy with a flame, they were doomed to be dead no matter what. I found with this Purifier, sometimes you can actually survive this if you get hit by a Purifier, as long as you're really on point with your shots and you're able to kill that Firebreak player really quickly. To compensate for this though, like I said, it seems to have a longer range than the Purifier from Black Ops 3, and also it seems to have a much more direct stream of flames. In Black Ops 3, if you guys remember, if you swept your aim side to side while using the Purifier, the flame would kind of follow behind quite a bit. This flame seems to come out at a much faster rate, and therefore it actually keeps up with you as you sweep side to side, and it's a bit more accurate than the previous Purifier. As for his equipment, this is the Reactor Core, and you guys might have seen this in the trailer and you might be a bit confused with how it works. With this Reactor Core, when you activate it, you take a knee, so you're completely stationary and you can't have your gun up or anything like that, and you start opening up this Reactor Core. What this does is it deals radiation damage to any surrounding enemies, even through walls and through floors. Anybody within a set radius of you, regardless of whether or not they're inside or outside or can see you or not, they will get stunned, slowed down, as well as damaged relatively heavily. I actually died to this a couple times in game, and it's pretty difficult to try and get yourself out of that radius in time before you even realize what's going on. The trade-off to this is, as the person using the Reactor Core, you will also take damage if you use it for too long. You can stop using it at any time if you'd like, and that can prevent you from taking damage, but if you keep activating it for too long, you can actually keep it all the way to the point where you die, or if you stop it after you've taken damage from it, you will never be able to replenish your health above that point for the rest of that life that you have. So let's say you use it for a little bit too long, you end up taking some damage, and it takes you down to 80 health. Until you die, you'll never be able to get above that 80 health, so you really have to be careful about when you're using it and for how long you're going to be using it. Getting into the next specialist, this is Crash, and he is the healer of this game. His specialist ability is the TAC-5, which is kind of like a healing gun. When you aim this at teammates, you will completely heal them, as well as give them a little bit of bonus health on top of their regular health. I believe it boosts them up to 200 health instead of 150. And when you activate it, it boosts your own health up to 300 instead of 150. So it actually doubles your health. Keep in mind, that's just a one-time thing when you activate it though. You can't just stim yourself and get back up to that 300 health after using this. It's just that one-time boost to your health. Keep in mind, when aiming this at teammates as well, it does work through walls. As for his special equipment, this is the Assault Pack, and this is basically just an ammo pack that you throw down on the ground and your teammates can pick this up. If your teammates pick this up and they start getting kills through the ammo that they received in that ammo pack, you will actually get score towards your streak. Next up we have Recon, and he is the Intel Operator. His specialist ability is Vision Pulse, and this is quite a bit different than the Vision Pulse we saw in Black Ops 3. The first big difference is it works for your entire team. It doesn't just work for you, it works for your whole team, and it will show enemy locations through walls. It's kind of like an X-ray thing where you can see them through walls, and every time you activate this, you and your teammates get a few pulses of this. So it doesn't just activate once and then mark enemies for a really long time. It gives you a pulse and it allows you to see who's through walls and what they're doing for a short period of time. And then there will be a little bit of a pause and then another pulse will come out. When you're on the receiving end of this, if you're on the other team and somebody uses a vision pulse, you yourself will glow so you can really clearly see when someone has vision pulsed you, which allows you to react accordingly to that. As for his special equipment, this is the sensor dart, and with this you can shoot it and it will attach to a wall or the floor or whatever you want to attach it to, but you can shoot it. And wherever it lands, it will now reveal enemies within a certain radius of it on the minimap. It's basically like a motion sensor from previous Call of Duty games, but instead of just placing it at your feet, you can actually shoot it and stick it to wherever you want to aim it at. Moving on to Rouen, he probably looks really familiar. He is also from Black Ops 3, although in this game he actually has real arms, not robotic arms. So this is before he essentially turned into a cyborg. He is classified as the Rusher, and his special ability is the Grav Slam, which is really similar to the gravity spikes from Black Ops 3. When you activate that, you immediately just slam this giant rod onto the ground and anybody within a certain radius will get killed. I found it a little bit more difficult to use than in Black Ops 3 because you can't use the thrust jumps to get above your enemies and then drop down on them. You have to just kind of activate it from the ground, Or you can use his special equipment, which is the grapple, to get yourself some elevation, and then you can chain these together to get a really good grav slam. Speaking of the grapple gun, like I said, this is his special equipment, and this recharges about once every 10 seconds or so you can actually use it quite a bit in a match. And with this one, it behaves a lot like the grapple from Advanced Warfare. You just shoot it at a wall that's within a certain range of you, and it has a decent range, I would say. And you can really use this to get around the map a lot faster than any other specialist character in the game. Keep in mind though, when you use this, after you detach that grapple, you are going to be vulnerable for about a second or so. I found it takes a little while to get your gun back up after using the grapple, and I think that's a good thing. I think that keeps this in check. So you have to be really careful about when you use this, because you are going to be very vulnerable while using it. At first, I thought I could just grapple right in behind an enemy, get my gun up really quickly and kill him, but I found that didn't work a lot of the times because they could really clearly see what I was doing. And also, once I detached from the grapple, it took me a little while to get my gun back up, and it was just too long and I'd get myself killed. So finally, the last specialist that we have access to, at least in this build of the game, is Seraph, and she is the Tactician. Once again, she is a returning specialist from Black Ops 3. Her specialist ability is the Annihilator, which is basically identical to the Annihilator in Black Ops 3. It just has slightly different sights, but it behaves in basically the exact same way. I didn't see any differences whatsoever with how it behaves. And her special equipment is the TAC Deploy Beacon. This is a deployable beacon that allows your teammates to redeploy in the surrounding area. And this is where that spawn selection comes in. If you guys have watched the gameplay, you'll notice every time you die, it comes up with a map, and it's a spawn selection map. Now, you don't actually get to select your spawn point with this. It's basically just used for this TAC Deploy Beacon, at least from what we've seen so far with what we've had access to. Essentially, if the Seraph on your team has this TAC Deploy Beacon activated, it can be either you or one of your teammates has this activated. When you die and you're going to respawn, you can choose to spawn on this TAC Deploy Beacon if you want to, or you can decide to let the game just choose a normal spawn for you. If you do choose to spawn on that TAC Deploy Beacon, you don't necessarily spawn right on top of it like a tactical insertion from the past. Instead, it seems to pick a spawn point within a radius of that TAC Deploy Beacon. This is definitely going to change how a lot of different game modes will play for you. So in Hardpoint, for instance, instead of just anchoring the spawn, you can actually basically choose your teammate's spawn area with this TAC Deploy Beacon for a short period of time. And if used properly, this is an extremely powerful piece of equipment. So there we have it. That's going to wrap it up for all of the specialist characters as well as their special abilities and equipment in Black Ops 4. I'd like to know in the comment section below, after seeing all of these specialist characters and their abilities and their equipment, which one appeals to you the most? Which one do you think is going to be your main specialist character? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah.